Working class Latino voters could upend Democrat chances in 2024. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video, and today it is time to talk about the 2024 presidential election because the Democratic Party has significant problems going into the 2024 election with their coalition. And obviously everyone talks about the young progressive and Muslim voter because they're not happy with how Democrats have handled the war in Israel, especially Biden. They're not happy with him, and a lot of them are saying they're not going to vote for Biden no matter what. But the thing is, for Democrats, this may not be the group they should be most worried about. It might be Hispanic voters, which we know back in 2020 made a big shift towards Trump. And it appears the trends we saw back in 2020 and even a little bit back in 2022 is not only continuing into 2024, but it's accelerating. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Again, folks, all support is greatly appreciated, and yeah. Now, I do want to be clear that no one is saying that Hispanics are going to vote majority for Trump. In fact, it's still more than likely we're going to see Biden outright win the Latino vote. I think it's a guarantee at this point. He's going to win the majority, or at the bare minimum, the plurality of these voters. The problem is, the shifts we're seeing with these voters are not just by a couple points. You're talking about historical shifts towards the Republican Party. So let's get into it. The decades-long exodus of white working-class voters from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party has a new jolt. Latino working-class voters are joining the shift. Now, we've known about this for decades that even before Trump, white working-class voters were trending towards the Republican Party. Now, there's many reasons for why this is happening, but it comes down to the fact that Republicans have been doing significantly better in places like West Virginia, the Deep South, etc. And there are a lot of white working class voters there that have voted Democrat for generations. But Trump came along and he accelerated the trends in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. But at some point, the theory was for many people that it didn't matter if Trump or any Republican did so good with white working class voters. At some point, demographics are going to kick in, and, well, you're not going to be able to win with just white voters. That's a theory that many people have been saying for years. Well, it might be true, but the problem is Latino working class voters, which have been super Democrat, as of now, are making a huge shift towards Trump. To win key swing states, President Biden needs the support of some dissatisfied white, Latino, and black working-class voters who polls suggest are upset about inflation and some Democratic policies. 6 swing states, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, are widely expected to decide the Biden-Trump rematch. Now, on paper, this seems like, well, that would mean that Nevada and Arizona, states that have heavy Hispanic populations, they're the only ones that are going to be impacted by this trend. And on paper, that's true, that you're going to see a much larger shift towards the right in states like Arizona and Nevada, theoretically. The problem is, this is not just, one part of the country having a big trend towards Republicans with these voters. Hispanic working class voters exist in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and even Georgia. Granted, they don't make up as large of a share of the vote as in Nevada or Arizona, but these voters still vote overwhelmingly Democrat. And if they're voting for Biden at far less rates, like the polls indicate, his pathway to victory, even in a state like Wisconsin, where roughly 4% of the vote comes from Hispanic voters, if they shift like 20 points Republican, that could be enough for Trump to win without anything else occurring. And that's why this is a big deal. These voters, it doesn't matter if it's in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. It doesn't matter if it's in Arizona, Nevada. They still vote very Democrat. Some states a bit more, some states a bit less. But if they all swing 20 points Republican, Some of these states were decided by a couple thousand votes. And if a couple thousand Hispanic voters flipped to Trump, without anything else happening, without African American voters flipping, white voters flipping, just let's say that's the only change between 2020 and 2024. That might be enough for Trump to win. Not saying it's a guarantee, but doing basic math, a 20-point swing with these voters across the swing states, even a state like Wisconsin, could be enough. Now, does that mean that's going to 100% happen and no other groups swing either way? Of course not. But it's just an example to show you that even if these groups, don't make up the largest share of the vote in some of these states, them swinging 20 points Republican or whatever it is significant. It's enough to win the election. Voters without a college education will be key players in each state. Working class voters also could tip tight Senate and House races in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Montana, Texas, and Maryland at a time when both chambers have narrow majorities. Biden's poll numbers have been rising lately, which not really. Like, there's a couple polls here and there where, yeah, it's gone up by 1%, but it's not a surge. In fact, the past week, the polling has actually rebounded for Trump. It just goes back and forth. One week it's more favorable for Biden, the next is for Trump. But several surveys have indicated he has underperformed with non-white voters without college degrees, a constituency that has long been overwhelmingly Democratic. A YouGov poll commissioned by the Progressive Policy Institute at the end of 2023 found that working class voters overwhelmingly believe they're worse off today than similar voters did 40 years ago. Voters said they trusted the GOP more than Democrats on the economy, immigration, and education, a dramatic shift from past elections. And this right here is why Republicans have been surging, at least Trump. Other Republicans, not so much. There's proof to say these voters are just voting for Trump, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're voting for other Republicans. Either way, voters trust Republicans on the economy, immigration, and education. And that includes, many polls show, Hispanics trust Republicans more. Among Latinos, Republicans also now have an edge over Democrats when it comes to dealing with the economy, which is just crazy to think about, because that's like saying, okay, a group that voted for you by, let's say, 25, 30 points back in 2020, they're now saying the other party is better than you on the economy. That's what they're effectively saying. That's a 30-point swing on that one issue. They trust Republicans on the economy much more than Democrats. And that was from a poll from Axios. This is not a far-right pollster. This was a poll sponsored by Axios like a month ago. This is not a far-right outlet. This is Axios we're talking about. And this is what's so significant about it. It's every pollster that's finding this. This isn't just, one pollster that found, Trump doing way better with Hispanics. Granted, some pollsters are saying he's doing like 5 points better. Some polls have him doing 20 points better. But either way, nearly every single pollster have shown Trump is doing better with Hispanic voters. GOP consultant Mike Mandred tells Axios a political shift among working class Latino and Black voters has accelerated in recent elections because they see Democrats as out of touch with their way of life. These voter blocs are upset with Democrats focusing on electric vehicles while moving to phase out fossil fuels, which many see as endangering high-paying oil worker jobs, he said. Democrats' push to forgive college student loans also is unpopular with some working class voters who want more focus on making food and housing more affordable, Mandred said. And I 100% agree with this, and I really believe this is why Democrats are having a big problem with these voters. Not necessarily because the economy is terrible. That's bad enough. It's the fact Democrats are seen as out of touch. Biden is the president. He's going around and saying, the economy is surging, the real statistics show inflation is down and all of that. And most people agree that's bullshit what he's saying. Hell, many Democrats admit, the economy is not booming, inflation is not getting better, he's full of it. And that's why I think these voters are turning against Biden and Democrats. They're seen as out of touch. For example, housing. It is becoming nearly impossible to be a first-time house buyer. You can't afford it now. But Democrats are saying that inflation is down? Hell, food is costing more than ever. Food, your most essential need to survive. Yeah, people can't afford it like they used to. Now you wonder why some of these voters, which mind you, a lot of them have been Democrat forever. Their parents were their grandparents, they were Democrats forever. But now it's gotten so bad that they realized, you know what? This is not the party that I grew up with. They have no clue what's going on. They're incompetent. They're out of touch. Maybe it's time to bring Trump back. The shift among white working class voters began in the 60s, when anti-Vietnam War protests pushed some to support Republican Richard Nixon, said William A. Golston, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. Golston said Republicans since have made gains with white working class voters, once the bedrock of the New Deal coalition, in almost every election. Any significant defection by working class Latinos could be devastating for Democrats, he said. And I went over this a couple minutes ago, that even in a state like Wisconsin, if you see a 20 to 30 point shift among these voters, that would be enough. Assuming everything stays the exact same, turnout stays the same, every other group, they vote identical to 2020, which is not going to happen. It would be just enough, but it would be enough for Trump to win. Barely, but it would be enough. I would call this the political story of my lifetime, Golston said. And compared to past shifts with demographics, I agree with this statement. Because even back in 2016, where there were a bunch of Obama-Trump voters, especially in the Midwest, at least, that demographic across the country, it was shifted Republican even before Trump. Trump accelerated. In fact, he did win a bunch of voters over that would have never voted Republican if it weren't for Trump. But this is a group that there were no signs of this before Trump that they were going to move towards the Republican Party. In fact, for years, they were shifting Democrat. And many Republicans thought if you just supported amnesty, these voters would vote for you. Well, guess what? That was BS. Trump ran on restricted immigration, and he won the highest vote share of these voters in decades for any Republican. This is why this is just stunning. This isn't a group that was shifting Republican before Trump. It was the opposite. They're shifting Republican because of Trump and his policies. Now, does that mean these voters are going to flip majority Republican this year? No. Maybe in a state like Florida, I could see that happening. Maybe even Texas in a best case scenario. But I highly doubt everywhere you're going to see a majority Republican Hispanic vote. It's very unlikely. But even if they do, 15 to 20 points better with these voters. If nothing else changes, it would be enough for Biden to lose. But we got to see what happens. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.